60 days from now, you are going to move into a new house.
And you haven't told your friends yet. You haven't posted a single thing about it online.
Right. But Home Depot already knows. And they're actually already planning the exact sequence of digital ads they're going to show you just to make sure you buy your moving boxes from them.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like science fiction or maybe a total privacy nightmare, but it's actually just a Tuesday in the digital marketing industry.
It really is. We tend to view the ads on our screens as this, random, slightly creepy force that just sort of happens to us.
Hmm.
We completely ignore the massive, invisible machinery running right beneath the surface.
It's an incredibly complex, surprisingly human ecosystem. When you finally pull back the curtain, you see an entire industry dedicating billions of dollars to, well, one single goal.
Translating your messy, unpredictable everyday life into actionable mathematics. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our source material for this exploration is a really fascinating insider's guidebook. We're looking at excerpts from the Big Book of Digital Marketing, which is published by the Ignition One Group.
It's a great text.
Yeah, and our mission today is to cut straight through the intimidating, jargon-heavy world of ad tech. Whether you're a digital marketer yourself, maybe a tech enthusiast, or you're just insanely curious about why certain ads seem to magically follow you around the web, we're going to uncover the surprising ways marketers collect, interpret, and use your data to shape the digital world you see every single day.
It really is a rare look at the philosophy behind the algorithms because, the technology, no matter how advanced, is ultimately only as good as the assumptions of the people programming it.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with a massive misconception that even seasoned industry professionals get wrong.
Oh, the bad data myth.
Yes, the idea of bad data. So a marketing team runs a massive online campaign. It totally fails to hit the sales targets, and their immediate reaction is to just throw their hands up and blame the data provider.
Right, they just declare the data was garbage. It's the easiest scapegoat in the corporate world, honestly.
Or they just pull the plug.
Yeah, they pull the plug on the campaign, write it off as a total loss, and move on. But in the reality of digital marketing, there is rarely such a thing as bad data. There's only misunderstood data.
Wow.
A failed campaign is actually a massive learning opportunity, but only if you're willing to look at what the numbers are actually telling you, rather than, what you desperately wanted them to tell you.
The source material has this brilliant example about a motorcycle brand that perfectly illustrates this. Let's say a company wants to sell big, loud, heavy American choppers.
Right, the classic biker image.
Exactly. Naturally, the marketing director tells the agency to target typical macho biker profiles. They
Oh,
want their ads in front of rough, tough, heavily tattooed guys who just live and breathe motorcycle culture.
makes sense on paper.
But the campaign runs, the clicks are terrible, and the sales are completely non-existent.
And the instinct there is to say, well, the web just isn't a good place to sell choppers, or the data provider gave us fake bikers.
But wait, if they actually stop and look at the underlying mechanics of who did click and who did engage with the ad, they might find a completely different demographic, right?
Precisely. They might realize they shouldn't be targeting hardcore bikers at all because, well, those guys already own a bike. Or they build their own.
Of course.
The data might show the actual clicks are coming from suburban men in their late 40s who are, simultaneously researching vinyl siding and college tuition.
Guys going through a midlife crisis.
Exactly, guys who want to buy a motorcycle just to feel cool again.
I mean, it's like baking a cake that comes out completely flat and dense. You didn't fail at baking a cake. You just successfully learned how to make a giant cookie.
That is a fantastic analogy.
You just have to realize what you've actually made and adjust your marketing strategy to, sell giant cookies.
Right. You pivot and optimize for the giant cookie. The data wasn't bad. The preconceived bias of the marketing team was the problem. The quote-unquote failed campaign actually handed them the exact highly profitable profile of their true buyer.
That's incredible.
But, and this is a big but, even if a team perfectly understands their customer profile, there is another massive pitfall they face. And it's a structural flaw the industry rarely wants to talk about. Data aging.
You mean like an expiration date on a carton of milk?
Exactly like that. Data loses value over time, and in the digital space, it loses value incredibly fast.
Because things change so quickly.
Right. Think about how the fundamental tracking mechanism works. A brand relies on behavioral targeting, which means dropping a small piece of a cookie on your internet browser to track what pages you look at.
Okay.
But that cookie is actually incredibly dumb. It only captures a very specific moment in time.
I see where this is going. The source uses the example of shopping for trousers, right?
Yes, the trousers example is perfect.
You look at a pair of pants on a clothing website for a week. The site drops a cookie on your browser labeling you as in market for trousers. But then you actually go ahead and buy the pants. You're done.
You move on with your life.
Right. You move on, and now you're looking at shoes.
But that original cookie doesn't know you bought the pants, especially if you bought them in a physical store or maybe on a different device.
So it just stays there.
Yeah, and that cookie might have a 3-month lifespan programmed into it. What's fascinating here is that the digital ad industry prides itself on efficiency and return on investment, yet it rarely discusses how quickly this online tracking data becomes completely irrelevant.
So for the next 3 months, you are relentlessly bombarded with dynamic display ads for the exact pants you already have hanging in your closet.
Yeah.
While you're actively trying to give someone your money for a pair of shoes.
It is the classic computer science rule, garbage in, garbage out. If the data informing the campaign is stale, the algorithms will flawlessly execute a terrible, irrelevant campaign.
So if predicting human behavior using online cookies is fundamentally flawed because data expires the second you make a purchase, how do brands actually know what you want?
That's a great question.
It seems like they'd need a much more reliable anchor than just your browser history.
They absolutely do. And they find that anchor by stopping their obsession with your online life and looking intensely at your offline life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The most valuable data segments a marketer can utilize are based on major real-world life changes. And the absolute holy grail of these life changes is moving to a new home.
The statistics the source material provides on moving are absolutely mind-blowing. Like 55% of moving homeowners buy at least one major appliance after a move.
It's a huge surge in spending.
Yeah. They spend more on major purchases in the 3 months surrounding a move than a non-mover will spend in an entire 5-year period.
That's right.
And it's not just big-ticket items like refrigerators. Movers are a staggering 372% more likely to switch baby product brands.
Think about the psychology and the mechanics of a move. It physically disrupts all of your established daily habits.
Your routine is just gone.
Completely. Your brand loyalty is completely up for grabs. You might change the brand of beer you drink simply because the local grocery store in your new neighborhood has a different layout, and your old favorite is hard to find.
That makes total sense.
Marketers know this is a window of immense vulnerability and massive opportunity.
Here's where it gets really interesting. They don't just know you're moving. They have the exact timeline mapped out to intercept you.
Oh, they have it down to a science.
A home supply store, like Home Depot or Lowe's, will actively target you 60 days before your move date, because that is the exact window when you realize you need boxes, packing tape, maybe a new drill.
Exactly.
But IKEA, they operate on a different rhythm. They might target urban movers in a tight 15-day window right around the actual move when people realize their old sofa doesn't fit up the new apartment stairs.
The classic pivot moment.
Right. And then once you're settled, Best Buy steps in to sell you that new flat-screen TV for the living room.
Now, the obvious question people ask is, well, how do they know I'm moving before I've even updated my shipping address on Amazon?
Yeah, how do they?
This is where the synthesis of offline and online data happens. They use public and commercial records. Think about municipal deed changes, public real estate filings, or new utility installations.
Way back up. How does me calling the water company to turn on the pipes at a new house turn into a digital banner ad on my laptop? What is the actual mechanism there?
It's a fascinating data supply chain. When you set up your utilities, the utility company has a record of your new physical address and the activation date. Data brokers legally purchase these massive commercial lists.
Okay, but isn't that a privacy issue?
Well, to use them online, they have to protect your privacy. So they completely scrub the list of personally identifiable information. Right. They delete your name. They delete your exact street number.
Yeah.
But they take that general physical address and they match it to the IP address assigned to that house by the local internet service provider.
Ah, so when I connect my laptop to my new Wi-Fi router, that IP address is basically a digital flag planted on that specific geographic location.
Exactly. They create these highly qualified, anonymous digital segments based on concrete, real-world actions.
Wow.
It beats traditional online cookie tracking every single time. Because it isn't based on a passing curiosity on website, it's anchored in the physical reality of a utility hookup.
So knowing when you move is a massive advantage because of the timeline. But the text argues that knowing exactly where you are standing at any given second of the day is the ultimate game changer.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about the shift to hyperlocal targeting using latitudinal and longitudinal coordinates.
Yes, we're moving from the broad timeline of your life events down to the exact GPS coordinates of your physical presence in real time.
The author brings up this great anecdote about EasyPass, the electronic toll collection system on highways.
Yeah, that was a great story.
When it first rolled out, people, including the author's own grandfather, were genuinely frightened by it. They thought it was a government tracking tool designed to monitor their every movement.
Which is a completely understandable human reaction.
Totally.
And the author uses that to point out a crucial business reality for the ad tech industry. As marketing moves into hyper-local tracking, the industry must absolutely respect privacy and offer crystal clear opt-outs.
Because if they don't,
Right, not just for ethical reasons, but to protect their own return on investment. If you creep consumers out, you trigger a massive backlash, and they will block your technology entirely. The business goal has to be relevance, not surveillance.
assuming they navigate that privacy line successfully, the applications described here are just wild. And we aren't just talking about your mobile phone buzzing with a 10% off coupon as you physically walk past a coffee shop anymore.
No, the digital canvas is expanding rapidly into the physical world. We're looking at connected home appliances, like a smart thermostat, knowing you just walked in the door and adjusting its integrated messaging.
That's crazy.
Or, even more impressively, digital billboards on the street. Imagine a billboard equipped with sensors or cameras that can anonymously recognize the general demographic profile of the crowd standing at the bus stop in front of it.
Wait, really?
Yeah, and then dynamically changing its advertisement to appeal to that specific group in real time.
I am still trying to wrap my head around the idea that data isn't just being used to find you anymore. It's being used to literally build the ad you're looking at on the fly.
It's all about dynamic creative.
The source details how brands use real-time weather data. Like if you're standing outside and it's a gorgeous sunny 75-degree day, a car company will programmatically serve you an ad on your phone showing their convertible cruising down a coastal highway.
Makes you want to buy the car.
Right. But if it suddenly starts pouring rain, that exact same ad slot will instantly switch to an image highlighting that same car's advanced traction control and safety features for wet roads.
It's about creating a personalized, contextual narrative in milliseconds. Luxury retailers are doing this beautifully too, by targeting specific consumer-generated hashtags on social media.
Oh, how does that work?
Well, if a brand system sees you engaging with a combination of hashtags like hashtag men's, hashtag wallets, and hashtag camouflage print, they aren't going to waste money serving you a generic brand awareness ad.
Right.
They will dynamically assemble a custom ad unit featuring that exact camouflage wallet and push it to your feed.
And it actually works. The text highlights a compelling case study with Philips. They wanted to boost the effectiveness of their email marketing.
A very common goal.
Right. But instead of blasting the same generic email to 1 million people, they married the deep insights sitting in their data platforms with the real-time signals they gathered while the customer was currently browsing their website.
Joining the offline and online data.
Exactly. They used all that combined data to completely personalize both the subject lines and the body content for every single individual email. The result was a massive 250% lift in click-through rate.
Wow.
And a 300% increase in overall campaign performance.
A 300% increase is not just an incremental improvement, that is a fundamental transformation of their entire marketing efficiency.
But wait, to pull off a personalized weather-based car ad on a digital billboard, or to dynamically generate millions of unique data-driven emails, there has to be an insane amount of data being processed.
An unfathomable amount, yes.
How does the machinery behind all this actually work without constantly breaking down? Like, what is the plumbing that allows a weather report to change a billboard in real time?
That brings us to the underlying architecture of the industry, which is unfortunately an absolute alphabet soup of acronyms and buzzwords. Marketers often throw these terms around lazily, using them as boxes to check on a strategy presentation without actually understanding the underlying mechanics. Well, let's clear up the biggest confusion right now. Because the text specifically calls out two major buzzwords that people use interchangeably all the time, but absolutely shouldn't. Programmatic and RTB, which stands for real-time bidding.
Yes.
What is the actual difference between the two?
It is a crucial distinction to make. Programmatic is the broad, overarching umbrella term. It simply refers to the automated buying of media at scale. using machines and algorithms.
Rather than human beings.
Right, rather than human beings negotiating insertion orders over a 3-martini lunch. It is the automated process. RTB, real-time bidding, is just one specific subset, one feature of programmatic buying. RTB is specifically the auction-based environment.
Okay, I need an analogy here. How does a real-time auction actually happen while I'm just trying to read a news article?
Think of RTB like a high-frequency Wall Street trading floor, but instead of trading corporate stocks, the commodity being traded is the empty white square on the web page you just clicked on.
When you click a link before the page even fully loads, your browser sends out a signal saying, I have a 35-year-old user from Chicago looking at a sports article. Who wants this space?
And then what happens?
In the span of a few milliseconds, literally the time it takes you to blink, thousands of advertisers' algorithms submit bids for that space. The highest bidder wins, and their ad is injected into the white square as the page finishes loading.
That's incredibly fast.
That specific lightning-fast auction is RTB. But you can also have programmatic systems that automatically buy guaranteed ad space without an auction at all. So all RTB is programmatic, but not all programmatic is RTB.
I'm struggling to see why everyone tries to force these ad tech companies into such neat little buckets then. You hear these acronyms constantly, like, are you an ad network, a DSP, or a DMP?
Right.
Why does the industry care so much about this rigid categorization if the end goal is just getting an ad on the screen?
Well, let's define those quickly so the debate makes sense. A DMP, or data management platform, is essentially the giant digital filing cabinet where all that anonymous data about movers and weather and website clicks is stored, sorted, and analyzed.
Okay, the filing cabinet.
Right. A DSP, or demand-side platform, is the actual software terminal the buyer uses to plug into those RTB auctions we just talked about and spend their money.
The trading desk.
Exactly. And an ad network is traditionally a company that bundles all of this together, the data, the buying, the strategy, and manages it for you. Human beings naturally crave simplification in a chaotic ecosystem, so they want to know exactly which bucket a vendor fits into.
But the author argues that bucketization is actually dangerous, right?
It is, because it fuels the great industry debate over transparency versus performance. For instance, DSPs often market themselves as the ultimate transparent do-it-yourself solution. They say, look, we show you exactly what you're paying for every single millisecond impression. We just take a flat software fee. And in doing so, they paint traditional bundled ad networks as these shady, opaque black boxes that secretly mark up the prices of the ads to make a massive profit margin.
It sounds like the DSP is the obvious choice then. I mean, why pay a middleman if you don't know what their margin is?
The author uses a brilliant analogy of a home kitchen remodel to explain why that's a trap. Imagine you want to renovate your kitchen. You could hire a full-service firm with an architect and a general contractor. That's your bundled ad network.
Okay.
They handle the permits, the materials, and the labor, and they give you one final price. You don't know exactly what they paid for the nails versus what they paid the plumber, but you get a finished kitchen.
Right.
Or you could do it yourself. You buy the tools, you source the raw wood from the lumberyard, you manage the timeline, that's the self-service DSP.
Doing it yourself definitely looks cheaper on paper. You aren't paying the contractor's massive overhead fee.
Exactly. But if you do it yourself and your kitchen cabinets are crooked, the countertops don't fit, and the plumbing leaks, the money you saved on the contractor's fee is completely irrelevant.
Because the kitchen is terrible.
Right. You didn't get a good return on your investment. This raises an important question. Is the industry's obsession with transparency, demanding to know the exact cost of a single piece of digital wood, blinding buyers to the actual return on investment?
That's a great point.
At the end of the day, an ad network might hide their profit margin in a bundled fee, but if their proprietary algorithms and data deliver a higher overall sales performance than you could achieve on your own, the lack of transparency shouldn't matter. Performance is the ultimate truth teller.
Okay, so we've got automated programmatic buying, real-time auctions happening in milliseconds, massive data filing cabinets, algorithms optimizing bundled ad networks.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like this entire industry is run completely by robots.
It really does.
Where do actual human beings fit into this machinery?
That is actually ad tech's biggest current hurdle. They have a massive people problem. We have built these incredibly sophisticated, lightning-fast machines, but we severely lack the human talent required to properly steer them and understand what they're actually doing.
The text calls this the visualization problem. It points out that while the ad-serving technology is cutting edge, The way we analyze the results is stuck in the dark ages.
It really is.
It's like handing a client a massive 100-page phone book full of raw Excel data rows and expecting them to understand it, instead of handing them a copy of USA Today with colorful, clear, digestible infographics that actually tell a story.
Precisely. If campaign managers are forced to spend 80% of their time just trying to format an Excel spreadsheet to figure out what happened yesterday, they have no time left to actually think strategically and optimize the campaign for tomorrow.
They're just buried in rows and columns.
Exactly. The industry doesn't just need more Wall Street quants and software engineers who can build faster algorithms. It desperately needs storytellers who can interpret the output of those algorithms.
I love the specific example they gave about this in the book. They have a brilliant data strategist on their team who didn't come from a math, statistics, or computer science background at all. He was a creative writing major from Tulane University.
Which, on paper, seems completely counterintuitive for a highly technical data job.
Right. I'd expect him to be writing the ad copy, not analyzing the programmatic bid data.
Yeah.
But the text says he's wildly successful, specifically because he possesses the exact skill the machines lack.
Yeah.
Why does a creative writer beat a math genius in this specific role?
Because numbers ultimately represent human desires. The math genius can look at the spreadsheet and perfectly identify the statistical anomaly, like, hey, clicks went up 40% at 3 p.m.
Okay.
But the creative writer looks at that same anomaly and can explain why it happened. He can identify the human behavior driving those numbers and turn it into a compelling, understandable narrative for the client.
He gives the data a plot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it proves a fundamental truth about digital marketing. Technology cannot sell itself. Algorithms can find the target audience, and RTB can win the auction for the placement in a millisecond. But without the human intuition to interpret the data, understand the context of the user's life, and craft a message that actually resonates, the entire programmatic machine falls apart. It just becomes expensive noise.
So what does this all mean? We started today by talking about the invisible machinery of the internet. And what we've discovered is that this machinery is actually fueled by the mundane details of our own lives.
It's all connected.
From the fundamentally flawed, stale cookies tracking our shoe shopping, to the offline utility records predicting our next major purchase, to the dynamic algorithms adapting a car ad to the rain outside our physical window.
Yeah.
Every time you browse a web page, every time you move to a new apartment, every time you check the local weather, you are providing the raw material for these digital storytellers. They're using this massive interconnected web of data to craft a tailored experience just for you. It's not just a cold, robotic transaction. It's an ongoing, highly engineered conversation between you and the brands trying to reach you.
And it is a conversation that's only going to get more immersive and deeply integrated into our physical reality. Think about where this technology goes next.
Okay.
If ad tech currently uses our offline life events and local weather to dynamically alter the ads on the flat screens of our phones and billboards, what happens when we move into a world of ubiquitous augmented reality?
Oh, wow.
If the data knows exactly where you are standing, what specific object you are looking at, and perhaps even registers your biometric emotional response in real time, will the ad eventually become completely indistinguishable from the physical world around you?
Wow. A completely personalized, digitally enhanced reality built specifically for you in milliseconds. That is a wild thought to leave off on. Next time you see an ad that feels just a little too perfect, remember the massive auction floors, the data filing tablets, and the human storytellers working behind the scenes. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the digital world around you.